gone from pouring rain where buckets are coming down to beautiful sun and
Guys,
blue sky. Some blue sky.
we're alive, and we've united once again with our pal Martin Popoff.
Excellent.
There's the man. Good to see you again, Martin.
Yeah, good to see you guys. It's been a while since we've
Too long.
a show together.
Yep. So here we go. Today, celebrating the anniversary of Sabotage. It was released, July 28th, 1975. How many years did we say that was again?
47 years ago today.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's it, Jim. You said we wanted to do an anniversary show. So I'm thinking 25th, 30th, 50th anniversary. 47. Is this something, a new trend we're going to start in the Metal Boys? So 36th anniversary.
I don't know. Look,
it's today. Any day to talk about Sabotage is a good day. So
I think this is like a real interesting album out of the whole sort of Black Sabbath catalog. It's got a lot of backstory. The songs are, not your typical Sabbath songs, or at least they're a little bit more different.
The real reason is it's because it's your favorite Sabbath album with Ozzy. That's why. That's why.
Alan knows me too good. Alan knows me too good. Alan, 47 years. That's a new thing, right?
That's a new thing, yeah.
Alan knows me too well, Martin.
Well, I've often called it my favorite album of all time.
Oh,
wow.
There's mine. This is one of my pride and joys.
Copy all torn up.
Check it out.
So inferior. I feel so inferior.
All-time favorite.
Fully signed there, guys. Fully signed.
Wow. By who? Everybody?
Everybody. Tony, where's the Ozzy on there? Ozzy's up here in red.
It says Ronnie James Dio where Ozzy is. What's going on?
There's Ozzy in red. There's Geezer in blue. There's Tony down there, and then Bill is that one. So
fabulous.
Yeah,
fabulous. I love it.
Wow. And then, of course, I named my first Sabbath book Sabotage.
I thought you were going to say you named your first child Sabotage.
First child Sabotage.
But I have called this my favorite album of all time. I've said Queen 1. I've said Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, Clash, London Calling. But I've often rated this my favorite album of all time. And I used to kind of joke that, in 1975 it took Led Zeppelin 2 records to make a record this good, and Sabbath did it in one kind of thing. So.
The background, the songs, the reception. There you go. Those 3 things we'll talk about today. And we will talk about this, one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums. The background.
For me,
a lot of craziness going on. A lot of craziness.
It's a less immediate album for me. It's definitely a grower. I mean, compared, you don't have the War Pigs and the Children of the Graves and Iron Man and Paranoid. There's nothing obvious like that. But it is it's a deep album, right? Deep tracks on this album. So.
All right, let's talk about the legal wranglings here. So the band starts off, they come out with 5 albums, doing great. The band's doing great. The critics are not really digging the band, but over time, they're sort of getting used to them. And here comes Sabotage. Or actually, we shouldn't even go there yet. Lots of legal problems, trying to get away from old management to get new management. Or Martin, just give us a little background right there.
Yeah, so they're coming out of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. They're still with Patrick Meehan and Patrick Meehan Jr. And then basically they say we realized that we were getting ripped off by management and all this. And so they're trying to get out of the situation, and they've got lawyers involved. And there's a song called The Writ, because they would say things like, we were working at the mixing board and lawyers were serving us notices, and we were constantly dealing with lawyers. And then they'd say things like, when we went on tour, it was to pay off all the lawyers. So Megalomania is about management, and The Writ is about management. There's quips about Bill Ward manning the phones and trying to hold the whole ship together, management wise. But yeah, so they're just very distracted making this record. There's a lot of drug problems going on as well, a lot of stress, and it makes for a very sort of angry, stressful, creative, foreign, strange, weird album.
Yeah.
Going into this album, they still owed 35,000 pounds, according to Tony Iommi's book, to Simpson, which was their managers even before me. And so everybody was coming after them with writs, trying to get money or bleed money from a stone, I guess is the expression, because they had no money, right? They weren't seeing any money. And then in Ozzy's book, they said they got rid of me and they got a new lawyer that came in. He says, I'm taking you all out for a drink. And then they all had their drinks, and he starts tabbing. Like, you had,
it's on you.
He was going to charge them back for the drink. So That goes, it's just, in other books, it's been described as business managers at this time were just gangsters that had interest in the music industry. So,
Yeah.
So their cars, their mansions, and everything they bought them is what you're saying, Alan, was basically owned by Meehan, right?
it's all a front. It's all a front.
It's all a front, right? But from tragedy comes great music, right?
Yeah, this is a funny album. I'll tell you one weird story. Like, when we were kids, everybody, like the guy who bought the album, that was the album they were supposed to represent and be the spokesman for and all this. So this one was bought by a different buddy of ours. Jeff Cahoon picked up this one, and we were sort of jealous of him and stuff, and saying, it's not that great. Your Sabbath album isn't as good as mine, which was Volume 4, and so it was like that with Kiss Records as well. But the point I want to make is it's kind of a funny, weird point. When we first heard this record, we thought it wasn't very heavy. It's an odd thing to think, but then I was kind of going through it again to prepare for this. And the funny thing about this album is you could play long segments of the major songs on this record and think it's not even a heavy metal album, because Symptom of the Universe turns into like an acoustic jazzy song for the last part of it. Megalomania, the first 3 minutes of the whole thing is mellow. It's basically sounds like Solitude or Planet Caravan.
Let's go in the sequence of the songs here. Hole in the Sky, right? Let's just jump right into that sucker right there.
Okay.
Is that possibly one of the angriest sounding songs that Sabbath has ever done?
Yeah, and that's one that doesn't change throughout. It's just big swinging. It's got a little bit of, it's got some swing to it. But it's got a little bit of a shuffle feel to it. Big, beautifully recorded cymbals by the band and Mike Butcher. That is the one rock song on this entire album that doesn't make a huge about face. It's basically the same thing throughout.
Now is that attack or chicken that they scream at the beginning? We still don't know, do we? You hear somebody say chicken attack.
Oh yeah, I can't remember that story exactly how that, but yeah, that's and that song basically reminds me of it almost feels like the song that the entire career of Cathedral was built on. Like Cathedral does a great job of songs that sound like Hole in the Sky.
I mean, Ozzy's like singing so high, and he's just yelling it out, and it's just actually throughout the whole album he's kind of like that. This might be his highest register album, I would think, vocal wise.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty. Anything else? Anybody else want to say about Hole in the Sky? Good, bad? You like it?
Great song. It's
relentless,
environmental, relentless. Yeah, it's beautifully recorded, pounding guitars. The bass is in there properly. It's not very articulated bass. It's more like the bass sound of bass. But everything's just recorded great. Really nice snare sound out of Bill as well.
But there you go, right off the bat, after the first song, an instrumental already. I mean, are we talking filler here, or is this like a nice little piece of music of 49 seconds?
Yeah, beautiful little song. Don't Start Too Late. I just did an episode of my podcast, History in 5 Songs, with Martin Popoff. It's called First Day Guitar Solo, and I talked about songs that were introed by guitar solos. And the first category was the named ones, and this is a great named one. And after kind of thinking about it and doing that episode, I thought, this is like a really super cool, creative, creepy way to do kind of a Spanish guitar thing, whereas Rick Emmett or Eddie Van Halen or Alex Lifeson all basically do Spanish guitar traditionally and conservatively. But Tony's the riff master, the creepy guy. So he makes this thing sound like a ghost pitter-pattering through the hallways or something with this thing.
I mean, previous to this, we had Fluff, I think, something similar to this. So it kind of fit into what they were doing on previous albums. So, but it was a nice new twist to it.
Fluff and Orchid, right? Fluff and Orchid are both like, Orchid, they sound kind of funereal, like something that you would play at a funeral, which frankly, the beginning of Rock Bottom by Kiss is kind of that same way as well. It's just got kind of like a moody edginess to it, and it's so mellow and so acoustic.
I like Don't Start a lot more because there's a little more finger picking there, versus Fluff, which I think is more strumming.
And the title is because they would start playing before Mike Butcher was ready to record. So it's a little in joke. It's like, don't start, too late.
Too late.
No,
Symptom of the Universe. Palm muted power chords. You know, some people say this is the beginning of thrash metal as we know it.
Yeah, I don't know why that's ever brought up. I mean, I don't find it particularly, prescient of thrash. It's just a great, super, super heavy song. But as I was saying earlier, I mean, this one basically turns into like a folky acoustic jazz song for the last how much is it? I wrote it down.
2-3 minutes, I would say.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, last 2 minutes of 6:29. Yeah, so the last third is a mellow song, and that's why us as kids, maybe we were remembering the parts where the song went south. It went bad, and we were remembering all the mellow parts, right?
Or you didn't want it to go south and mellow. That's why you guys were a bit disappointed with it.
But we were jealous of our buddy Jeff getting this album, and we're putting it down as well, like finding fault in it, right?
In Iommi's autobiography, he writes that he agrees with the people that think "Symptoms of the Universe" is the first progressive metal song. Do you guys agree? Yes or no?
No, I agree. I think it's
no.
beautiful.
I think they were already doing that kind of thing on Sabotage. I mean, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. I think Deep Purple was kind of already, massaging in a lot of parts.
And 75, Rush was definitely doing stuff, right?
Yeah, we already have. Well, actually, what do we got? I'm not sure. Well, I guess Fly By Night would have been out because that's got to be early 75 because Caress of Steel's got to be late 75. So Fly By Night was already out. So that was progressive metal.
No, but I think they do it in a different way. It starts off with these power chords, and then it just like completely shifts gear into this sort of jazzy kind of freestyle.
This is the first. I'm sure there's other ones.
Yeah.
No, I think they did it in their own unique way. They did it in their own unique way. That's kind of.
No, you're wrong, Jimmy. Alan's right.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The theme, is it love that conquers all or just some sort of trip? Symptom of the Universe. Is that love? Is that rebirth? Is it reincarnation? Nobody knows, do they?
Yeah, very hippie trippy, right? This whole album, like it's really out there and ethereal. So,
and that's one of the things revisiting this album that got reinforced for me is just how great a lyricist Geezer Butler is. How would you guys rate him out of 1 to 10?
Oh, 10. He's incredible. 7 ardent unicorns. Like, figure that one out.
Yeah, he is really economical with his words. They aren't big fancy words all the time, but just stringing together those few simple words all the time makes it really enigmatic. And really cool themes
and the cool themes, exactly. The pictures that he's building and the expressions he's using to get his point across. I mean, I can't think of anybody else that does it quite that way.
He could find the right, I think economically, like Martin said, but he can find the right word in the right place with the sort of right emphasis that just, brings those images like Alan's talking about to your mind when you're listening to it. That's what I think.
And then he's even got to hand it to a lead singer.
Yes,
a bit of a crazy man lead singer, and make sure they come out right. So it's
exactly, and he does it. Yeah,
it just works great with Ozzy. Yeah,
Megalomania, guys, what do you think about this sucker?
Alan, you go first.
Epic, I guess, would be the word to use.
Yeah.
So this one actually is different than the other ones in that it starts mellow and it goes mellow for, I think it's about 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. And the last 6 minutes is heavy when it picks up. But the first 3 minutes is a little bit of that Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. You're on the boat. It's floating around. You can't get anywhere. The albatross is coming by, right? It's got that feel. It's got the Planet Caravan feel, the Solitude feel. It's just a weird, druggy, dreamy, gauzy sort of beginning, and then the power chords come in. I mean, power chords that are actually kind of similar to Symptom of the Universe power chords, right?
Do you guys think that this was more a Geezer Butler state of mind, or was it sort of aimed towards management and their megalomaniac?
That's what they say. They say it's aimed towards management. Yeah,
that's what I read too.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. There it goes. Megalomania. What does everybody else think of it? I know that everybody's just weighing in here. Hello, boys. 3 of my favorite people right here. Also, my favorite Sabbath LP. That's Kenny.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Kenny. Yeah, I was just about to do the same, Jim. So.
And Rob and Francis and Richard. Glad to see Popoff in the discussion. He's a great and smart metalhead.
Is that
with
Kenny
a lot
Kessel?
of Sabbath
Yeah.
knowledge.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
One and only Kenny
almost,
Kessel.
we almost hooked up last week because we were going to go see Blue Coop, but then they canceled because Joe got COVID. So I was in Hamilton, he was in Hamilton, and we just missed each other.
Oh,
I
boy.
just turned around and drove home. It's like ridiculous. Crazy rush hour to get to Hamilton. You know, it's brutal in rush hour getting there. But yeah, too bad because, you know, I know Joe and Albert and Dennis as well. It would have been nice to see them. But Kenny and I were almost thinking that, you know, the guys were being a little cagey about even meeting people because of COVID. So maybe we wouldn't have seen them anyways. But then, as it turns out, Joe gets COVID. So we did.
There you go.
But I walked right into the venue and got told by the barman, you know, no, it ain't on.
Popoff, go home. That's what they told you.
Popoff, go home.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now we're flipping on to the other side of the album, and we have Thrill of It All. Alan, what do you think about Thrill of It All?
I always book. They talked about they actually made some changes to the master tapes. It took them forever to get this track made. In fact, the whole album took them forever. It seems like, and they had the little indications you used to have to start the song, to stop the songs. They kind of put that on the master tape, so he was completely disheartened that it took them forever to get the track, and then it gets ruined by somebody. That's why it's written on the back here. It says
He ruined
engineer,
it. Saboteur.
Tape operator and saboteur David Harris, because of that gaffe that they did on the Thrill of It All. So.
I mean, this is a great use of, orchestration in a sense, right? I guess the tempo picks up, the keyboards at the end. It's amazing. Martin, what do you think?
Well, the cool thing about this one is it goes to that theme of it gets mellow at the end, but not the same kind of mellow. It's not acoustic mellow. It gets to a point where you're thinking Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Looking for Today, those kinds of melodic things. So the whole back end is kind of a weird version of Poppy in a way, right?
Yeah.
Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Poppy, but the front of it is just crushing, amazing riffing from Tony.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the use of those keyboards though in the song too. Superstar, Superzar, however they want to pronounce it, Superzar. Another instrumental. This time, big choirs, right? They're bringing the choirs. Ozzy walks in the room or the studio goes, "Where am I? Where am I? Am I in the right place?" Just this big. I mean, is this filler or is this something that the band really wanted to put on tape?
Alan?
I don't
What do you
think
guys
it's
think? Is it
filler. I mean, like Ozzy said, how am I supposed to sing over this with all these choral voices and that? I don't think it's filler by any means, but I do think it's possibly the first symphonic metal song.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a great marriage because it's a great marriage of heavy metal, and in this case, more or less, Tony, heavy metal riffing with classical. And I don't think, in most future cases going on decades and decades, you get anything that actually achieves the creative success that this does. I don't think it sounds like filler at all. I think it's a masterful song on here. It's super innovative. It's super proggy. It's got all the, the percussion, bells and whistles. And yeah, I think even as kids, as angry metalheads as we were, we did not hate this song. We kind of thought it was kind of cool.
I think when I was 10 years old and I was in Sam the Record Man, and my first impression of the album was, what on earth is this cover all about? Like, oh my God, what is this? I mean, what decade is this? Is this like a 1960s, right? Let alone the 50s. Well, we'll get into the cover pretty soon. Let's go to Am I Going Insane? And so they say that this was supposed to be penned for Ozzy's solo album, and he brings the idea back to the band, a very commercial, more pop oriented, maybe in a sense. I know it's not wasn't poised as a sort of position as a radio single, but it did have that very poppy melodic sound. Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, Jim. Besides the actual lyrical content, it's the most optimistic sounding song on the album. which is kind of
like it doesn't even
funny.
belong there in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
it's considering the title is "Am I Going Insane?" You know, it's going to be kind of dark lyrically, but the music is by far the most, I would say, uplifting on the album.
Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say uplifting. I think of those chord changes, and it does sound a little foreboding. And then when you do combine it with the lyric, I guess it gets darker. And then you've got, supposedly Ozzy's daughter Jessica, crying on it and then turned down. You've got the laughing, which I guess is a friend of theirs, Adrian from Australia or whatever. But this was released as a single and of course died because it just is not really single material, even though it is the mellowest song on it. The last story about it is, the idea of the strange title, right? It's "Am I Going Insane?" in brackets radio. And that's like Cockney or English slang for, they had this place in Birmingham called Radio Rental. And so it was slang for mental. So if you had a buddy, somebody's crazy, some buddy of yours is mental, you'd say, wow, he's radio. Because radio rental rhymes with mental. So it's "Am I Going Insane?" mental, kind of, right? Radio instead of mental. So, and then funnily, it's like we're releasing this as a single to radio. So it's very weird that way.
It's a very odd track, but nevertheless, I do like it. I've always liked it, over time. The Writ. Here we go. The Summons. The Writ.
And just a minute, just to get back to "Am I Going Insane?"
Go ahead.
In Chris Welch's book here, Black Sabbath, he says that this song reminds him of the Who during their "I Can See for Miles" period. And I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't really, I'm not sure I hear any Who in it really at all. Maybe conceptually, or you think of those chord changes or the theatricality of it, maybe. I don't know. Jimmy?
I think it's just reflection of the times, the whole album is a reflection of the times of, if you listen to Judas Priest or Rush, like you were mentioning before, it's not heavy metal just yet. It's sort of like hard rock and with a lot of integrated sounds like jazz. And I mean, Rush is a perfect, like take the Necromancer. Maybe Necromancer is not a good, I think more the Who. I think, Alan, I believe, there's a lot more of that Who-ish, even Led Zeppelin to a certain degree. I just think this is an album of the 70s, a hard rock album of the 70s. It's not heavy metal as we know it today, right? Heavy metal today is drum, blasts and chugging forever and, high screaming vocals or high tenor vocals. But now you got, I don't know, it's the sign of the era, the sign of the decade.
But I think in total, it's probably Black Sabbath's most progressive album.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though people always label Sabbath Bloody Sabbath as the progressive album, right? But
no, I would agree with you on that. I just think it's a sign of the times. It's what the music was sounding like, more or less.
Yeah,
that type of.
There's
music.
A lot going on in Volume 4 too. We can't. There's a lot of different changes. Laguna Sunrise, and then you got the heaviness of Snowblind, and so it's up there, I would think.
No, but I think there's way more tempo changes. There's way more time changes. There's just way more bits and pieces of different genres in this album versus like Volume 4. I find it's more straightforward, but that's just me.
And next is the song that, of course, summarizes all their frustration during this period.
I mean, Ozzy apparently, he wrote the lyrics to this. Is that true or not? I don't know.
That's what he claims in his book, autobiography.
Yeah, it's a full band credit for everything, and it does sound a little simpler or a different personality than Geezer. But and the way he says it, in the book, it kind of has some truism or some reality to it. I mean, we forgot to mention. I mean, "Am I Going Insane?" is supposedly Ozzy too, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, did he have just the melody? Did he write the lyrics? I'm assuming, he probably did. You're right, the lyrics are a little more simpler. They're not very Geezer Butler-ish. Yeah. Right on the Writ, it seems more like he's mad and he's just screaming at someone. Yeah. But then you have that cool little harpsichord and a little tubular bell within the song, right? Which
this one goes mellow too. This one,
mellow, right?
This one goes mellow, but then it has probably the angriest, doomiest
Yes.
Tony Iommi riffs on it as well. So
Yeah,
it goes mellow plus heavy, but the heavy bears no relation to the earlier heavy, which was this big slow open groove, right? With Ozzy screeching away at the top, right?
You were saying that this is an album of the 70s. It sounds like a 70s album to you. So I'm listening to it today, and we get to the midsection of the Writ, and I'm like, that's Only Women Bleeds, Alice Cooper. You listen to the way Alice Cooper, that song starts, and you've got the midsection. So, like, who did it first? So, to get back to the sound of the 70s, if we take that middle section, you got Welcome to My Nightmare being released in March of 75, and this is in July of 75. And it's funny how those two sections sound so similar.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I think if we wrote out a list of all, but even Judas Priest, what did they have in 75? Was it their second
only
album?
Rock-a-Rolla at that point?
It was a Rock-a-Rolla, or 74 or 75?
74, but Sad Wings wasn't out yet.
Yeah. So 76. Okay. Well, then you have Blow on a Jug, but I don't know if we're gonna like talk about that part. Like,
that was always surprising to hear. I had that on my original copy of Sabotage. So that's apparently Bill playing piano and Bill and Ozzy singing. It's recorded very quiet. It's just a silly little 23 seconds or whatever tune stuck on the end. But yeah, it was just another intriguing, weird little thing, right?
You know, when I put on this album, I go, this is what I used to love about heavy metal, and sort of the little ingredients from every genre in there, you know, mixed in with the heavy guitars and the loud vocals. I don't know. It's kind of what I missed.
Well,
and you know,
just to add to that, the question I have for both of you is, if this was a debut album for a band today, would they be able to make it?
I think so.
Yeah, it's pretty darn creative, and it's well recorded. I mean, it's you know, it's a weird question, but I would put it in a zone with it would feel like an Opeth or a Mastodon album or something like that, right?
Or, you know, Lucifer, you know, that's kind of the doom angle that they have. You see, here's the problem with that, Alan. If it was released today, it's already been done. So it sort of feels like a copycat. But when this was done, it wasn't as done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's hard to say if it was released today.
I guess, would a band with Black Sabbath, would they be able to exist today? Because I'm listening to it, I'm hearing all the changes. That's fine. And then you're hearing Ozzy's voice, and you know, I'm just asked myself, you know, they're legendary. You can trace, and Martin probably has traced all the roots of heavy metal right back to this band. But it's like, it would, if they were to launch today, would they succeed?
Who knows? You know, there's so many different factors, right? The reason they succeeded back then is, you know, if you think about it, one of the reasons there are a lot of bands that quote unquote succeeded is there were way fewer bands at that time. But also, I think people, I've always had this theory that people who even thought they didn't like heavy metal loved heavy metal, they just didn't know it, kind of thing. And that's why Heart Barracuda was a big hit, and that's even why Money for Nothing by Dire Straits is a hit. He turned on the fuzz pedal, right? So I think Sabbath is just so uncommon and so strange during that time. And you think of, you know, Bill Ward always talks about, you know, downers and wine, right? We were all drinking Boone's Farm wine and chucking back.
Guys, look. Right? When I had We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, and I opened that sort of the inner sleeve, and I saw that lady in the coffin, and that scared the shit out of me as a kid. But now if I open it, it looks like a joke, right? Like, compared to what's out there today, right? So I think they were at the right place at the right time with the right image, with the right sound, reflecting that sort of maybe it was Vietnam that was happening right back then, or that sort of counterculture, and you know.
But now it's funny about right around
guys.
The corner, right?
You know what's funny about this? These guys were sort of anti-establishment. They were real anti-establishment. Where bands today are establishment. They're for the establishment, but back then they were the minority, right? They were representing the minority and how they felt. And I don't know.
And I just have another question for you guys. Like, for my feeling is, starting maybe at Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, maybe even as early as Volume 4, was kind of like, okay, Tony, you handle the music. We're off to the pub, and we're going to go snort something. And when you're finished, we'll all come back. And then I know that definitely happened as Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, but is Sabotage where we're starting to see that the well's running a little bit dry? If that was indeed the case, that
but
it
you
is
know what,
all on
Alan,
Naomi's shoulders.
I want to add something to that. Think about this. This is really only 6 songs on this album, right? So I mean, you know, how hard is it to come up with 6 songs? Now, if they had to come up with 16 songs, we wouldn't be on the show talking about this album. There'd probably be like 8 fillers and then 6, and we'd say, it's an okay album. But because there are 6 real songs on this, with
Well,
2
you're not
instrumentals,
counting Superstar as a
no,
Superstar.
but those are 2 instrumentals, we'll call them, right?
Okay.
There's only
it's a song.
6 complete songs.
Okay.
Now, the reason why we love this album so much, because it has 6 great songs. Well, I could name you a few albums that I like 6 songs, but I didn't like the other 6. So we probably won't do a show about that album.
Plus,
What do you
2
guys
of
think
these are
about
really
that?
long, and plus, like I say, 4 of these songs have an extra song buried in them, right?
Yeah.
I find this like a very creative album. I mean, like I say, I've called it my favorite album of all time. I think the whole idea, Alan, of the album with a lot of Tony taking over and having to do everything. The narrative for that situation is really Technical Ecstasy, and then a super falling apart around Never Say Die. But yeah, so I think on this one, it's almost like I've always thought, I always had that sort of analogy of like they're just hanging on for dear life. Their knuckles are white, and it's just desperation, and out of desperation and fear and running on fumes that the creativity just goes wild, and they come up with their most creative album ever.
And we should say, for those people out there who don't know, Sabotage is basically the theme of the album. They felt like they were being sabotaged.
Yeah.
That's the theme. We should talk about the album cover itself. Right? Bring it out there, Martin. Bring out the wardrobe.
Here we go.
Here's the backside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Apparently, Bill Ward didn't have underwear on.
That's his wife's stockings, apparently.
Yeah, so they were all supposed to wear black or whatever. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's a terrible album cover." I think it's pretty cool. I don't mind it. I think they all kind of look pretty cool in it. Ozzy in that kimono looks pretty cool. I think they look all right. And then there you've got the back.
When I first saw that, Martin, it's on the record man's as a little kid. I go, "What on earth is this?" Like, and it worked in that sense, right? It worked.
Yeah.
Changing.
It's almost like I almost draw a comparison to a band named The Police or a band named The Cars. They're so iconic, they're so amazing that you forget that it's a stupid band name, and you forget the concept of actual cars or actual policemen. And that Sabotage album is just iconic because it's such an amazing record. So you almost forget, dissecting it down to the bits. It's just
Martin loves it. I don't like it. Alan, what do you think about it? The album cover.
I have no idea what that album cover has to do with Sabotage. I thought the mirror was kind of interesting, but I mean, they did this right. They switched to War Pigs. You see the album cover, and all of a sudden it's called Paranoid. So they, again, it's kind of there was no continuity between the outfits, but I really like the idea with the mirror. But
except the funny thing about Paranoid is that album cover fits equally as good with Paranoid as it does
the way they kind of
right. Well, just like there's this paranoid guy, he thinks everybody's after him. He's running around with a sword.
Well, you have Tony Iommi, who is that sort of scary guy in black, but he's wearing his white shirt there. Right?
You get a Cat Stevens look happening.
You got a Cat Stevens look. Yeah. Bill Ward, I don't know what kind of look. That's his best. I don't know, Lee Aaron look or something.
You're right.
That's the original camel toe, I think.
Yeah, and Geezer even, you're right. Geezer as well is looking like, stately 1970s fashion. And Ozzy kind of looks badass though in that cover.
Ozzy looks like he belongs on 2112 or on that album cover.
Yeah.
The kimono was really in back in the 70s. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was too young. I call that the bathrobe, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, Martin being one of my favorite authors, I've got all his books.
Boom! Look at that.
Frequently asked questions. So according to Martin's book here,
yes,
which album ranked by sound quality comes in at number 1?
Sabbath albums you're talking about with Ozzy or Dio?
Everybody, the whole Sabbath collection.
Oh, Heaven and Hell.
Wow. So this is
That's
according to
basic.
me. So I have to answer my own, like according to
Well,
me.
I'm saying
If you
Heaven and Hell.
remember, if you
I'm saying Heaven and
remember,
Hell.
You know, I would say it might be Technical Ecstasy.
you are correct.
Wow.
Sabotage comes in number 2,
There we go.
according to Martin
But
Popoff.
is that Aussie era? Is that Aussie era?
It's all of them.
Oh, that's all of it. You know, because
What do
I
you mean,
think
like Tony
Heaven
Martin
and
and
Hell.
everything.
Heaven and Hell came in 5th.
I think.
What
I
about
think
what about
Heaven
Born
and Hell-
Again? What about Born Again? Where did
Yeah,
that come
yeah,
in?
that comes in pretty low, but Heaven and Hell to me, I mean, it has that Martin Birch trademark where
Absolutely.
everything's kind of pressed into the mid range a little bit too much.
What?
Oh yeah,
What?
sure. I don't think it has
Oh.
much bottom end to it. I mean, it has a biting bass sound.
Listen to Neon Ice. Dugga, 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 dugga. That's real heavy. That's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but bottom end. I mean, you know, you think of what he did on that. Like Mob Rules has a ton of bottom end.
Yes,
But
yes.
Fire of Unknown Origin doesn't. Cultosaurus Erectus doesn't. What he did for Whitesnake doesn't. So I think that's really the trademark Martin Birch sound. Is a little bit compressed. Bring up the bottom end a little. There's ample treble everywhere, I think. So it's not like all crammed into the middle. But I think he brings up the bass. He likes that higher, tighter bass sound.
He
I would say
definitely did on
Sabbath,
Mob
Bloody
Rules.
Sabbath is down there, right, Alan? Where's Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath? It's down there, right? It's on the low
For sound quality?
sound quality. Yeah, I'm sure it's not a great sound quality.
Not
no.
terrible.
That was recorded in Nazi's kitchen.
I mean, Never Say Die'd be pretty low.
Never Say Die is not too bad. I do like it. It's thin, but I do like the sound. Like Johnny Blade, I just love.
It's
the sound.
crashy and clashy, right?
But Air Dance.
I think I just found it.
But then, you know, all the Tony Martin ones, except I
Uh,
mean, Headless Cross sounds horrible. I
Who
mean,
which album were you asking about, Jim?
Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Number
That's what it
6.
was. Number 6. Martin, what the hell's going on over there?
well, we'd probably have Technical Ecstasy, Sabotage, Master of Reality might be higher, right? I
It came
love,
in number 3. You
I
got that. You got
love
a
the
great
sound of
memory,
that one.
Martin.
Man, that is so.
And you put Mob Rules number 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
know
a great
exactly. Well,
album.
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't sound like a typical Martin Birch album. It's just really powerful, right?
Alan, what other questions do you have there in that book?
Oh my gosh, the whole book's questions.
All right, so
That's
reception.
what it's called. Frequently asked questions.
And yes, frequently asked. Give us another one, Alan. Give us another one. Come on. All right, the reception. Martin, what was the reception of this album? So finally, the critics have accepted a Sabbath, but the fans kind of like fell off a little bit.
I think so. I think it went a little over people's heads. I mean, when they started realizing, well, this song started here, it's ending here. What's going on? Like it just sounded like a really druggy, strange album where they've got no discipline on like the structure of the songs, I suppose. I did notice, I was just kind of looking up. I mean, it did go gold, and you think in your mind, oh, it's a gold album. Oh, that's kind of cool. It went gold in 1997, so it went gold way later, right? So
Yes.
so for a long time, it wasn't a particularly successful album. But as I was getting to earlier, you know, there weren't a lot of bands around, and there weren't a lot of bands this heavy around. That's for sure. So you didn't really measure your success on record sales so much. I mean, they would go on tour and they play big places and get a lot and sell a lot of tickets. So
What
it just
else?
felt like, you know, that was really the part of going to work that stuck in their minds, the endless playing concerts versus, you know, oh, we just made an album and how's it doing kind of thing, right?
7th best-selling album in their career, sold 900,000 units in the U.S. to today. So it didn't
Okay.
quite hit platinum. It didn't quite hit, but I mean, 900,000 is pretty good, I would say,
Yeah.
right?
I've been
45
looking
years,
a lot lately.
47 years.
I've been like surmising lately that I think there's almost like a job people could do in rock and roll that they haven't been doing. It's like go out and get the next level of certification based on streaming. I've looked at I did an episode of my podcast where I looked at Ace of Spades, and I think Ace of Spades is a gold record now, based on if you went and did the streaming.
Well, if you calculate the streams, yeah.
Yeah,
If you
but it would
calculate
take
streams.
management or you know, Maria or somebody, you know, because the band's all dead, right? It takes somebody to want to go and get that straightened out. But I swear, I think Motorhead has a gold album
Guys,
now.
just so you know that when I spoke to Sabaton a while back, you know, they told me their album went gold in Sweden. And I go, really? You sold that many copies? I don't know, 50,000, whatever it is. He goes, no, we count in Sweden by streams and downloads. And
No,
then we
but you do
include
in
that
America
physical.
too. And
You know?
and basically Ace of Spades, because that song's been played however million times. I did the math on this episode and worked it all out, divided by 15 and 10 songs and all this stuff, the way you're supposed to do it. And I think Ace of Spades basically now goes over the top. But, having said that, I guess what I'm getting to is if you see somewhere 900,000 official, I bet with the streaming, Sabotage is a platinum album.
But it's not an RIAA certification.
But that's what you get if you go ask for it to be certified, because there is streaming math that you apply to this. And that's why you can go on. There's a neat thing on RIAA. You can look at what got certified in 2021 and 2022. And some bands have gone back for these old albums and redid their stuff. And, Rush, for example, Moving Pictures, all my life I've thought of it. Oh, cool. Rush got a 4 times platinum album. Right on. 2021, it went 5 times platinum. And that's because someone went back and added in. At that point, what you're adding in, you're doing the math on the streaming, and someone went back and got it officially done. And now when you open Wiki and you look at it, it's like Moving Pictures is 5 times platinum.
Alan, Martin is the son of a mathematician. You know that.
Yes.
You know that, Alan, right? The son of a mathematician.
Well, I just want Ace of Spades. I just want Ace of Spades to be certified gold. So somebody's got to go do that, whether it's Maria Ferrero or whoever management is of the legacy of Motorhead. Somebody's got to go to work and go get that done.
Just the fact that we're hearing Ace of Spades in car commercials now, and these guys were the black sheep back in the 80s, right? You had only a certain few had the gall or the balls to wear a Motorhead vest, which I was one of them, by the way. But you were an outcast if you were a Motorhead fan back in the day, and now you got commercials for cars and everything else. Ace of Spades is used for all kinds of things.
See, that's the point. Back in the old days, your record sold a lot of copies because you had Beth on Destroyer or something, right? Nowadays, Ace of Spades, the entire album is literally mathematically dragged into, we sold this many copies and this many, 10,000 this month, or 10,000 this year, 10,000 next year. And all of those sales, quote unquote, is because of the single Ace of Spades in a different way than it was in the 70s.
Yeah. And there you go. And there you have it. Sabotage, Saboteur, Black Sabbath. We're celebrating, what do we got, 47 years?
47 years.
47 years.
Yeah. We're going to start a new trend.
Yeah, every
37 or 27 or 17 years, we're going to do a show reviewing albums.
Yeah.
I think this is a worthy anniversary. There's a lot of backstory. This is the rise, and this is definitely the fall of Black Sabbath. After this was the changing. Right at this point,
well, it's definitely my favorite Sabbath album, and it may be my favorite album of all time still.
That's how this show started, and it's a great way to end as well.
Guys, I think we're done.
Okay.
Thanks, Martin.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure. You working on anything you want to plug?
Yeah.
Not particularly. I've got a lot of books in the pipeline ready to come out, but I'm not really working on much now. We've just got the Contrarian show, the History in 5 Song show, and I've been doing a lot of these rock star portraits, pencil crayon on black ink, and then making prints of them, and even making little cards of them and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that. But yeah, a lot of video shows. Not really working on a lot of books, but I added it up. I think I've got 8 books finished that are coming out eventually, right?
We're finally going to get that Bee Gees anthology book, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Bee Gees.
So can we see those drawings on your website?
Yeah.
So martinpopoff.ca, you can see all the fake ads that I've done and about half the portraits, but you could go to artpal.com and my gallery and see all 50 portraits. So there's 50 exactly now. Plus I've done 7 new ones, but I haven't done prints of those. And yeah, that's it. Those are the 2 main new sites. So martinpopoff.com is still all the books, plus my old paintings from the 90s. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, for the art, martinpopoff.ca and artpal.com and my gallery.
You know what? I think the next show we're all going to do together is Born Again, which is coming up, the anniversary. Black Sabbath, Born Again. Alan, I always bring it up with Alan.
Because that's his second favorite Black Sabbath album. And I was waiting for it, a phone call. He has the gall to pull it off at the end of this show. I think the next one.
36 years. All right, guys.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
All right.